After the fiasco of forgetting the pole connectors to the hot tent and prematurely ending our canoe trip in the previous episode, we were back on Harris Lake to make the most of the remaining 2 days of our family Thanksgiving canoe trip. Here's how the rest of the trip turned out. So we are back at camp, and we just had a bite to eat because we didn't eat lunch, and just boiled up some water so we can have some hot chocolate. It is getting cooler, and the breeze doesn't help with that either. We know that it's supposed to get cold, and Anita's been checking the weather report, and it's supposed to feel like -1 overnight. So this is what we have set up. This is our tarp, and why we set it up this way is because there's a wind coming from the west. Now, when we came back from our little paddle, the pegs got pulled out, so I think the wind changed directions, and it's been pretty strong. As we came here, we had to deal with some good headwinds. But there's the fire pit here, and a stack of wood. I'm gonna go get some more and stack a bunch more wood, and we're gonna cook with the cast iron or the Dutch oven right there. So this will be our little hangout spot, protected from the wind, and it'll probably also protect the fireplace from getting too much wind as well too. So we'll cook our Thanksgiving meal, which I'll reveal later. So we'll sit down and have some hot chocolate. How's it feeling?
Good.
Or how's it tasting?
It's feeling good.
They're warm.
Good.
So I got a raspberry chocolate gourmet hot chocolate. Not that if you saw it, it would make any difference, because it looks the same, but it has like a raspberry hint to it. It's okay. Not something I would rush to get again. How's yours? Yours is with caramel, isn't it?
It's good.
All right. So we're just gonna relax a bit. Not like we've been relaxing all day.
You made me paddle, and there was a headwind.
Wow.
That wasn't relaxing. And then you started lily dipping.
Oh. So yeah, after our hot chocolate, I'm gonna go get some firewood. Anita's gonna get the rock set up so that the grill sits nicely, and
I am?
and then, yes, you are.
I was just gonna sit here, read my book while you did all your work. Yeah, that's a better idea.
And what am I gonna be thankful for this Thanksgiving?
That we're all here together as a family.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So on this easy family canoe trip, there's a couple of new items I'm going to be using for the first time, and they're both sawing implements. Now this one is, as many of you know, a silky saw. This is the Gourmet, the 240 millimeter or 24 centimeter blade. So a couple things that I really like. I like the really tacky rubberized handle, so you can get a good grip on it. And there's just a push button just to open the blade, and then once it snaps into place, it's pretty much secure. Now this blade is a nice compromise. It's long at 24 centimeters, so you can get a good stroke on it and cut the piece of wood fairly quickly. Silkies have been known for their really sharp and effective blades. The one thing I found, I've used Friends, I believe it might have been the same model. I find their blades to be a little skinnier, and sometimes with some hard sawing you can accidentally bend the blade, and I've done that once. I normally use a Baco saw, or your typical, that fluorescent orange Baco saw. So I'm going to give this a shot over this weekend, just because our evening meal is going to involve a lot of wood. And then I'll be showing you another sawing implement that I recently got, and I'm going to give it a shot, but it won't be really useful in this setting. So let's cut a few pieces of wood and see how it goes. So this is what, maybe about 1.5 inches diameter piece of wood. Yep, it's nice and quick. Of course, this is a new blade, so it's going to cut really well. All right, it is almost 4 o'clock, and we're probably going to get supper started pretty soon, but I need to collect some more firewood. And I'm going to be trying my second new wood cutting implement or device.
Toy.
Toy. There's Anita going to be chiming in from the, what do you call it, from the peanut gallery?
Yeah.
So I recently bought this from Lee Valley. I was actually just on there because I'm on their email list, and I was buying something for Anita, and of course they always kind of, oops, what was that? They always kind of know the stuff that you're interested in, and for some reason the saw showed up, and this is what showed up, one of the many. It's from a company called Beckma. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. It is actually from Korea, and I am Korean, so.
Oh, really?
Now, I've been on the portage cutting trip, and we've been on my last trip. The women have been so eager to move big trees. Normally, if it's too big, we try to go around it, go over it, under it, whatever the case is, but avoid cutting it. But this group of women really wanted to cut it, and they tackled a few big trees. So when I was doing that, I was thinking about the silky saw that I think it's called the Katana Boy. I've seen a few people on YouTube use it, and it's a very long folding saw. So it's easy for transportation because the blade's safely tucked away, and it's very effective at cutting big trees. So the only downside to that is it's a quality saw, but it's expensive. You can get varying ranges in size. Well, this from Lee Valley, this Beckma company, has made something very, very similar. I'm going to open this for you and I'll show you. And there you have it. It's basically like my silky Gomboy that I just showed you earlier, except this is a much bigger version. So it is similar in design like the silky. There's a latch here that you depress so that the blade swings out. And there's also a locking feature where you can screw it so that the blade doesn't accidentally close on you, or it doesn't open. So I'm gonna release it. There we go. Just want to make sure. Yeah, there we go. So you have to unscrew this. So this is the safety feature. You've got to release it, unscrew it to release it, and at the same time screw it all the way to lock it in. There we go. Now we can unlock it in. Now that's it. So you can see it's a fairly long apparatus. I believe the blade is 24 inches long. I'll get the specs for you later. I just don't have it all with me right now. But the reason why I brought it, because I wanted to try it out on this trip, because I knew we needed a lot of firewood for our Thanksgiving supper. So there is a down white pine further back there, and I'm gonna take you over there, and they've got some pretty thick what do you call, branches coming off of there, and so it'll be great for me to take off some pieces. I like this not only for cutting big trees and big branches, but because of the height, you can get some really good height advantage and cut down bigger limbs, especially at a place like this where you know that people have come here for firewood and they've cut all the low-hanging branches. But with something like this, I can get some of the higher ones and still be able to get some firewood. But I won't need to do that on this trip because there is that big dead white pine. So let's go over and give this a shot. This will be my first time trying it. The one thing I was going to also mention that this is only it's a pull action, so it only cuts on one direction, meaning on the pull stroke. So I won't be sawing on the upstroke or the push stroke. So that'll be a different. I think some of the silky saws work on the same principle. So it'll be something different I'll have to get used to, but let's give it a shot and try it out.
You go, Houston.
If you look straight that way, there is a dead pine that it broke about halfway down. So a lot of the branches that are super dry still attached to the upper part of the tree, and they're nice and thick, and I bet you they're nice and dry. So you can see the white pine has been dead for some time, and all the branches have the bark coming off of it, so that's a good indication that's going to be nice and dry. So check this white pine out. There are so many big branches. Some of these are like probably at least 3 to 4 inches in terms of diameter, but I mean they are good sizes for a fire. Look at that one. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this folding saw and give it a shot. I'm going to cut down that one. That one's one of the thicker ones, and see how that goes. All right, I'm going to tackle. Ooh, actually, this one's. Oh, that's heavy. Well, okay. I gotta move that branch because it's leaning on it. Otherwise, it's gonna, when I cut it, it's gonna snap on me. There we go. Okay, so release the blade. And I always wear gloves when I'm handling saws. I never used to, but there's been more than a few times where the blade skipped off the tree or the branch and it's come down on my finger, and these teeth just serrate your skin and you just bleed like a pig. So it's always good to have extra protection on. Okay, so I obviously don't need the length of this whole blade to cut this branch, even though it's pretty thick. So anyhow, but let's give it a shot. Okay, that worked out really well. It does make sense to put the effort on the pull stroke because you have more strength that way when you're pulling opposed to pushing. And actually, it is nice, even though the branch is smaller, to utilize the whole width of the blade, because one full stroke really cuts down the branch quite a bit, so you don't need a lot of back and forth movement. So it was my first cut, so I think you have to get used to it, because you got to realize how on your pull stroke you want to be light and then heavy on the downstroke. So look at that, it cut pretty easy, and that was a pretty dense piece of softwood. That's going to make for a great fire tonight. So there are thicker branches. The problem is, like this one, if I cut it, it'll probably take some other branches down. What I'll do is I'll actually tackle this branch, because this is low and there'll be nothing in the way, and let's see how that goes. So this one is thicker than the other one that I just cut, It is like I could barely get both my hands around the branch. It's pretty thick. So, woohoo! This one's under tension. Okay, so let's do it. Woohoo! The tripod's holding that branch up. There we go. Let me move that. So wow, that was pretty effective. Once I got the speed going, it was like cutting through butter. Wow, that is an amazing saw. Anyhow, I'm stoked about it. I love it. I'm gonna cut some more wood for the fire tonight, but yeah, I am super happy. What's this? Okay, this is the second time our tarp has totally ripped it right out of the ground. I got 4 pegs in there and they just popped right out. So, not surprising. It was a west wind earlier, mild, and it was warm, but it is getting cooler. Like right now I'm in just one shirt just because I was hot from cutting, but I gotta put another layer on. It's coming more from the north now, and sometimes it was coming from the east, and that's why it just popped this tarp up. So what we're going to do is take that off and then redirect it over this way, and hopefully we can block some of the wind, just because it's going to be really challenging with this wind to try and cook tonight. So let's try moving this tarp. Okay, so there we go. See where all the gear was? The tarp was over here. Now we shifted over this way, and because the wind's coming from the north now, and hopefully we won't have any issues. We just got to reorganize our wood pile and our gear back underneath the tarp, and I'm going to get the fire started.
Oh dear. This is your harnesses. I don't want that to look like what that for. What's this one there? Gotta go pee. Oh my goodness. Be careful because Dad never locks his lights.
So we've got the fire started. I think we're blocking most of the wind, maybe not all of it.
And now we're getting smoked.
Seems to change. It seems to keep coming a little bit from the west, but northwest. Anyhow, we haven't had the pegs pull out, so that's probably a good thing. Anyhow, so our Thanksgiving dinner is going to be an avian theme. So we're not going to have a turkey. There's only 2 of us to eat it. Well, if you count the 2 dogs, it could be a 3rd person, but they're only going to have little bits. So what we're going to have tonight is we're going to have Cornish hens. So they are right in this newspaper right now. There's 2 of them, and then we're going to cook them in the Dutch oven. And in the Dutch oven, we've got potatoes, baby tomatoes.
Baby potatoes.
Baby potatoes with carrots, onion,
rosemary.
And is there a seasoning in there?
Yeah, some
chicken broth
seasoning. Yeah.
Okay, so that's going to go in there with the Cornish hens. I think that's pretty much it, right?
Yep, and then the Cornish hens have.
Look at that. That's
I even
huge.
tied them up. The dogs are going to be eating a lot.
So you want to show the camera?
And
show the camera. Show the people.
And they have rosemary and lemon stuffed in them. So
Nice.
we'll see how it tastes, and then don't forget, because you got to melt the butter with the herbs.
Yeah, so right now we've got the alcohol stove going. We're going to warm up some water. We're going to put this container. This is butter infused with spices. What's in there?
I don't remember all of them.
Anyhow, we're gonna melt this butter. And so this butter is going to go into the Dutch oven with the Cornish hens and with the potatoes. And we're basically going to kind of roast it. And then it's gonna cook for what, an hour or two? An hour?
Yeah, probably an hour.
Depending on how it goes.
Yeah.
So
We might starve tonight.
it's what?
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, just after 5 o'clock. So hopefully, if things go well,
We'll be
supper
eating in the
is
dark.
6:30. I'm being hopeful that we'll eat.
I've been
before
around
this.
you too long.
Okay, so we're gonna get started, and we'll let you know how it goes. So we're just gonna add the seasoned butter to melt
Seasoned butter to melt
in the pots,
warm.
in the warm water.
Otherwise, we're going to starve.
Okay. We just put the cap on it. Perfect. So a few minutes, it should be all melted. While the butter is melting, Anita's gonna put the Cornish hens in the pot.
We are going to attempt to put the Cornish hens in the pot. And then we're going to attempt to put everything else in there too.
So of course we did a lot of prep work at home, so we wouldn't have to do too much here.
So then we just have to put the... No, don't fall out of my pot.
It looks pretty.
It does, doesn't it? And the thing is, we'll be so hungry by the time it's done. It will taste scrumptious.
We'll be starving.
Yeah.
It did look pretty even before it was cooked. We were just happy everything fit perfectly in the Dutch oven. Now it was time to put it on the grill. Okay, so here's the butter. It's all melted now. And just gonna drizzle it over.
The drizzle.
Lots of butter.
On everything. Close to it. So the spices went to the bottom.
Smell that. Could you be adding more butter? Could you be adding more butter?
Adding more?
Yeah. No?
No, I think we're good. We could at the end if you want to glaze it a bit.
Okay, that looks good. Now back on the fire. Now that the Cornish hens were on the grill, we simply had to feed the fire and check it periodically, ensuring everything was going as planned. Our Thanksgiving meal was coming along well, and the smell itself was to die for. Being our first time cooking Cornish hens outdoors in a Dutch oven, we didn't know what to expect, but so far it was looking great, and we couldn't wait to try it. Okay, it's time to eat. It smells amazing. There's knives in that. You want a knife?
I think you have the knives, don't you?
And it smells amazing. The light is fading, but we got it done just before. I guess a fork too, right? Okay, so
What did you do with your spoon?
I don't need a spoon. Here we go.
I'd be closer to it if I were you.
Yeah.
Like this.
Oh, wow. That is a big serving.
Like I said, I think this is going to be breakfast too.
Should we split one then?
Yes, we could.
I don't know if it will be easier to cut though. Wow, that's huge. Or you know what? You like the breast? Why don't you give me the legs and the wings, and I'll chomp on that.
I need your plate then.
Yeah. So let's get the lid so this doesn't cool down too much. I'm gonna try a carrot though.
Oh, we should put some
veggies
veggies on your plate too. Okay, let me see your plate. The legs.
That carrot.
Still think you're gonna need to have some
That
veggies.
seasoning is good.
Here's your knife.
I'm ignoring you because this tastes so good.
Dogs are too tired to even bother right now.
I know. Oh man, this is so good. This is the first time we've done it this way, and I was suggesting to Anita, why don't we? Because we're doing such an easy trip. I said, why don't we do a Thanksgiving themed dinner? And so she came up with this, and man, I can tell you, this is so good. You try carrot? It's so good.
Molly. No.
And it's like off the bone. Like it's,
It is good.
yeah. I'm gonna have to get my fingers dirty.
Well.
I want some of the seasoning though. The gravy.
Reckon?
It's gonna be a mess to clean up, but it's worth it. I ain't gonna complain. Not when you have a meal like this. Molly, no.
We'll get some later, Mouse. And your brother.
Well, everyone, happy Thanksgiving. If you're enjoying a Thanksgiving meal out in the bush, good for you. And if not, that's okay. Actually, we're going to be lucky. Sorry for all the smoke, but this is not, of course, normally what we would do on a long weekend trip. We would go from the Friday to the Tuesday. We kind of like to leave on a trip before the crowds begin the trip, or sorry, start going away, and we like to come back after the crowds have already come home. But being Thanksgiving, quite often we're away and we miss family functions, so we're gonna head home tomorrow, and then in the afternoon we're gonna go to Anita's parents' house and we're gonna have turkey. So we're kind of having the best of both worlds. So we lucked out that way. She nailed it. One cornish hen down, and the other one we're gonna pick at. But man, it is so tasty. So here's dessert. This one Anita baked at home, so we didn't have to make it. But what is it? It's a cheesecake.
Apple crumble cheesecake.
Apple crumble cheesecake. We couldn't finish the. We pretty much ate about 1.5 of the Cornish hen, and we finished all the veggies, but we're stuffed. And so I'm gonna have a little bit of the dessert. I don't even know if I can finish this. It was so good, I couldn't resist. So I did end up eating it all. So it might be a little hard to see, but I'm just heating up some water. I'm going to be doing some dishes, cleaning up. Anita's got really cold, so she went in the tent with the dogs, and the wind has shifted from the north, from the west to the north, and as expected, the temperature has dropped considerably. I'm okay, especially now that I'm underneath the tarp with the fire going, and once I get all the dishes done, then I'll head into the tent. But otherwise, the Thanksgiving dinner was amazing. It was fabulous. I just downed the cheesecake, apple crumble cheesecake, and that was really good too. So I'm just gonna clean up, and then we'll call it a day. So we are now in the tent. It is, what time is it? Was 10 o'clock?
Yeah, very funny.
I don't know what time it is.
You have a watch?
And this is great. We've got a 3-man tent. There's lots of space. There's a lot of down blankets, throws, sleeping bags. You can see
It's 9
Max
o'clock.
there. And Molly is knocked out right down there. Hey, Molly?
Tough life being a poodle.
Yeah. Some light
My
on.
hat.
Molly!
Don't eat my hat.
Hey,
That's
girl.
my hat.
And there's my wife and Max.
What did Daddy do to you? You like Daddy?
I love this because it's got so much space in here. I can stretch out. I don't feel like my space is invaded by poodles. This will be great.
Oh my word. Back.
There goes Max.
Is over here.
Anyhow, good night all. See you in the morning. It was another beautiful morning, but it was still breezy and now cold compared to what it was just 24 hours ago.
This is why it's only island site and he needs to be leashed.
Why?
He's all the way on the other side. And he doesn't listen worth a hill of beans. Hey, you're having too much fun. He's like, no, Mom. Not a chance. I am going to run.
Good morning. It is indeed cold this morning. I'm going to get the fire started soon. But man, what a way to start this morning. Anita's just feeding the dogs before they end up throwing up and bile. You always got to get some food into their stomach first thing. So she's giving them some wet food. But anyhow, what I wanted to share was not exactly a great way to get out of the tent. I let the dogs out, and they, of course, they went tearing out. And I'm scrambling to get my boots out, and Anita's screaming at me to go watch them.
You were not scrambling. You were moving in slow senior mode.
I only got one boot tied, and I got the other one, and I ran out. And Max is just on a tear all over this island. And not only that, he had a piece of tissue in his mouth. And so Anita was wondering if it was her pee clinics. I wasn't sure. I was trying to chase him. There's no way I could catch him. Even if it was in my prime, I couldn't catch him. He was just full of beans. It was just tearing across the island. Anyhow, I eventually was able to convince him to stop. I don't know how. And I had to pry his mouth, his jaws, to get the Kleenex out. And I'm sure it was a pee Kleenex, so it was gross. And then, as I went to go put that in the fire pit, does he not come tearing again with more tissue in his mouth? So we determined that this was tissue that Anita had buried, and somehow he, locked onto it, and he ran off with another Kleenex, and then I was put to another chase. So, as you can say, with a cold morning, being stiff and cold, and being at the age I am, it was not a good start to the morning. That little shit. Anyhow, I should get the fire started. My hands are actually going numb. And
Hurry up.
she needs her coffee. All right, so let's get this fire started. And good morning to day 2. Okay, it's cold. It's cold this morning. So if you're wondering what that tissue is, it's the tissue that I had to wrangle out of Max's mouth. And it's pee tissue, thanks to Anita.
You're welcome.
So I'm gonna try to get fire started here, because it is cold. Today definitely feels like October.
Oh Lord, yes it does.
So I can get this.
Garbage? What?
Smells like cat food around here.
Dog food.
Well, it smells like cat food. Putting needles in. Okay, let's see if we can get this started here. Oops. The funny thing is, this campsite, I know being close to the access point, people are probably not eager to camp here. Good thing is that there's tons of firewood here. I mean, it wouldn't have been our first choice to camp here as well too, but actually Anita ended up liking it a lot, and I don't mind it at all. Actually, it's a really nice campsite. Like I said, the only thing is just it's the access point. We did see people, and we did hear them, but it wasn't too annoying. They were there and gone pretty quickly, so no one really hangs out at access points anyway, so it didn't end up being too bad. Now, the one thing about alcohol stoves is that they don't light very well, or at all, when it gets down to freezing temps. I don't know what the temperature is. It said that it was going to get down to 2. It was going to feel like -1, so I'm pretty sure it's pretty cold. So this is probably very cold and probably won't light very well. I'm going to just make sure it's sealed and it doesn't leak. What I'm going to do is going to put this in my pocket just to warm it up. This is all brass, so it's really, really cold. So I'm going to warm it up in my hands and actually in my pocket for a few minutes, and then I'll light it, and then it should take. And of course, then once it lights, it's fine. Alright, so I'll just shove it in my pocket here. Actually, I'll put it right next to my leg here. And it should warm nicely. Fire's doing well. I feel my hands again. Okay, the wind has changed. So we went from a west wind, which was warm, and then the wind changed to the north, which increasingly got colder. And this morning we got a wind from the east, and it is really cold. So unfortunately, where our shelter is, if you look behind me, we moved it, if you remember yesterday, to the north side to block the north wind, but now it's coming streaming in from the east, and the flame is just being thrown over that way, and you can barely get any warmth. So what I'm going to do is, there's not too many trees here to set up the tarp, so what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to at least just put the canoe here to at least block some of the ground wind, and then we can get the stove there and get a little bit of wind blockage, and hopefully redivert some of the wind. But I mean, it won't help a lot, but enough maybe just to get us a little more comfortable. So let's do that and see how that goes. Okay, so there you go. Use the barrel and a block of wood to prop it up and give a little bit of protection. Hopefully it helps, but like I said, it's not a solution at all. But hopefully it'll divert some of the wind and help us to stay a little warmer. Or more than anything, hopefully the wind will stop. But so far, no luck. Okay, now that the alcohol is somewhat warm in my pocket, I'll try to see if I can get that started.
Where's your phone?
Hopefully this is warm enough. Cover off. There we go. Okay, wish me luck. It took.
Good.
There we go. Okay, so the fire's going. I got the pot of water going. So what I'm going to show you is this morning, yesterday Anita had a instant coffee. It's one of those Nescafe, has a powdered creamer and sugar, so it's just a quick and easy coffee. It's not the greatest. However, this morning she wants the good stuff.
Absolutely.
It's coming from the peanut gallery. Oh, there she is. So today, as most of you know, since I don't drink coffee other than decaf, she's gonna have this, the field brew. This is from Backcountry Coffee Company, and they sent this to me. These are one-time use, or you probably could get 2 use out of them because they're really well made. So it is, I'll show you, I'll pull one of them out. So this is how they look, and it's basically a filter with some paper on either side that pulls out, and it holds on to their arms, that holds on to the side of the mug, and then you put your coffee grind in the mesh part, and then you pour your hot water through there. So I'm going to pull this out, and I'll see if I can show you this. There we go. Now my hands are really stiff because it's cold. Here we go. So there's one part. So this would go over the mug. I'm going to do that on the other side. I'll show you that in a minute, how it goes over the mug. Just pull this out, just like that. And that it makes a little pocket or a little pouch. So what happens is, here's my mug. So I put that one part over the other, one side of the mug, and the other arm over the other side. Stretch it out. It holds there just like that. See? pretty neat. And then I'll put a couple tablespoons of coffee grind in there, and then all you do is just pour the water in there, and it just drips into the coffee, and away you go. You got fresh coffee. So I'll show you that in a minute. Whew, it's cold. So what we have today, I don't have the package with me, but let me see if I can show you. It's called the Paddler's Roast. It's one of the blends from Backcountry Coffee Company, and this is I believe this is the dark roast. So I'm gonna throw in a good heaping tablespoons of the coffee grinds. I think that's about 3. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to ask her, because having too much is probably not a bad thing, but having too little could endanger my life. So there we go. And I've got some, like I was trying to get it in there, some coffee grinds. Of course, fell into the mug. No big deal. Shake that out, and you're good to go. It's a really handy system. The nice thing too is that this whole setup is biodegradable, and so you can either burn it. Most likely we'll burn it. I guess you could possibly bury it, but you can see here it says, here, let me put it, field brew, paper device 100% biodegradable. Cool. Okay, so I only put about maybe 2.5 tablespoons in here, and I almost endangered my life. It's a good thing I asked her. She said 4, so I topped it up, and it's got lots in there, maybe even a little extra. Okay, so now the key is trying to get that in there without making a mess. So first I'm going to pour my mug of decaf, and then I will have a little less water to play with. There we go. Now I'll just drip into the mug. It smells great. Okay, and how's the coffee?
It is good. Much better than yours.
Yeah, right.
I have real roasted coffee.
Yeah.
And I brought cream along.
Yeah. And you're living the life.
Absolutely. In the freezing cold, I'm enjoying and savoring the flavor. I can't even talk anymore. It's so cold.
Okay, enjoy.
Watch the fire. Is he playing too rough? Is he playing too rough? It's cold with the wind.
We're having a ration-sized portion of oatmeal.
I don't know how that happened. I wonder if you put a single in there.
The first 2 days were lucky. It was unseasonal fall, October temperatures. It was nice. And today's the reality of what October temperature and tripping would feel like. And you gotta either drink or eat your food fast. Otherwise it gets cold.
Did you burn it?
Burn it.
You did too? You owe me a new pants because I got holes in it?
Two. Miss Molly. Miss Molly. Miss Molly.
You
Miss
tease
Molly.
him and then...
Miss Molly.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Keep going.
Okay. So we are folders. As you can
We are?
probably see right now.
Here's my center, right here. Where are you? I think we need to go this way so that the wind doesn't grab the fold.
Okay. Let's go, Molly.
Okay. Can I get in?
Yep.
I'm over top of him. It's a bad idea.
Let's just go check out that one. I guess if you're gonna tent, you would do more here on the left here. I think that's the only downside to that campsite. It's just that you don't really have that much privacy.
Yeah, but no one really can see you.
I guess.
I was trying to look at it from the brook, from the dock. You can't see it.
Molly, look over here. Okay, so that concludes our little Thanksgiving weekend. It was quite the trip, as you know, from the mistakes that were made, and but we were able to still salvage a pretty decent trip and have a good time. So now we're headed home to Anita's parents' place, and we're gonna have a proper Thanksgiving. Not that ours wasn't proper.
No,
ours
was good.
it was
Now we're
really
just going for
good.
a second supper.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, goodbye to the pups. Hey.
Bye. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned for the next one. Bye-bye.